Okay, so what we're looking at here is a country that's literally on fire, and we're going to talk about the man who lit the match. The crazy part? This is all happening right next door to the United States.
I mean, just imagine this for a second. Right now, one of America's closest neighbors, it's burning. You've got schools and colleges completely shut down. Airlines are grounding all their flights. And in cities all across the country, you're hearing gunfire and seeing buildings set ablaze. The whole nation, it's just frozen.
So you're probably thinking, is this a civil war, some kind of natural disaster? No. Unbelievably, all of this chaos, this entire country grinding to a halt, it's all because the authorities took down one man. Just one. His death is what sparked this whole inferno.
So how is that even possible? How can one single person hold an entire country hostage like this? Well, to get that, we gotta go back. We need to look at more than 100 years of history that piece by piece turned Mexico into a global drug superpower.
You know, it's wild when you look at how it all happened. It was kind of like a perfect storm, built from all these things that don't seem connected at first. So, check this out. It really kicks off back in 1914. The US bans narcotics, right? And boom, just like that, you've got a massive black market right across the border. Fast forward to World War II, and here's the irony. The US actually starts buying morphine from Mexico, which just encourages more opium farming. But the real, absolute game changer, that came in the 90s. Remember Pablo Escobar? When guys like him in Colombia were taken down, it left this huge power vacuum. And guess who stepped right in to fill that void? Yep, the Mexican cartels. They went from basically delivery guys to the undisputed kings of the entire global drug trade.
So, with this new power, you have the old guard, the old cartels fighting it out. And as they start to fall, a new breed of leader begins to claw their way to the top. Even more ruthless, even more violent. And out of all of them, one man rose higher than anyone else. A guy they call El Mencho.
Now here's a twist for you. His story as a major criminal doesn't actually start in Mexico. It starts inside a US prison. See, like a lot of people, he'd gone to America trying to find work, but he got busted selling heroin and ended up doing 3 years behind bars.
So after he gets out, he's deported back to Mexico. And what does he do? Something you would never ever expect. He joins the local police force. I mean, can you believe it? It was the perfect cover, and honestly, the perfect training. He spent his time on the inside, learning the entire system, how they operate, where the weak spots are, and, most importantly, who could be bought.
Yeah, he wasn't planning on being a cop for long. He soaked up everything he could, and then he was out. But he took all that inside knowledge with him. And with that crucial intel, combined with his own brutal ambition, he started to build his very own empire.
And this is really what sets El Mencho apart. His real name, Nemesio Ruben Oseguera Cervantes. This guy wasn't just some street thug. He was a stone-cold strategist. In 2007, he made a power move, broke away from an established cartel to start his own, and then, as other big names like El Chapo got arrested, he used that chaos to his advantage and just vaulted himself to the top. He became Mexico's undisputed drug king.
But look, El Mencho's power wasn't just about him as one guy. Not at all. His real strength, the source of his terror, came from the organization he created, the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, or CJNG. And trust me, this was a cartel like nothing the world had ever seen before.
Okay, this is where everything shifts. You think about the old cartels, right? Guys like El Chapo. Sure, they were powerful, no doubt. But their playbook was mostly bribery, traditional gangster stuff. They were movers, transporters. CJNG, totally different beast. They operate like a full-blown paramilitary army. We're talking rocket launchers, weaponized drones, armored trucks. They're not just moving the product, they're producing and distributing it on a global scale.
I mean, just get a load of their arsenal. It's insane. We're talking 20 to 30,000 fighters, a lot of them with actual military training. They've got military-grade weapons, rocket launchers, even attack drones. And their network isn't just local, it's everywhere. The US, Canada, Europe, Asia, Australia. Their capabilities are just staggering. They're on par with the armies of some actual countries.
So where does the money for all this come from? Well, their annual revenue is estimated to be over 1 lakh crore rupees. That's from selling cocaine, meth, and especially that deadly synthetic opioid, fentanyl. With that kind of cash, you can buy pretty much anything you want. Influence, weapons, and a whole lot of loyalty.
So you've got this narco army growing on your doorstep. and the U.S. is putting on immense pressure. The Mexican government finally gets to a point where they say, okay, enough is enough. We have to act. And so they launch this massive, unprecedented operation to take El Mencho down once and for all.
And let me tell you, this was not some simple police raid. This was a full-scale military operation. You had a joint task force, Mexican police, special forces, the Air Force, intelligence, all getting support from U.S. agencies. On February 21st, they finally had him cornered in a mountainous city. A massive firefight erupts. When the smoke clears, El Mencho is wounded but captured. They airlift him to Mexico City, but he doesn't make it. He dies from his injuries the very next day. And his death, that was the match that lit the fuse for the nationwide explosion of violence we're seeing right now.
Which brings us to the big, obvious question, right? The most wanted man in Mexico, maybe one of the most wanted in the world, is dead. So why isn't anyone celebrating? Why is the country on fire instead? The reason is, this isn't just random rioting. This is a message. The cartel's rampage is a cold, calculated, terrifying show of force. They're sending a very clear message to the government, to the people, to everyone. And that message is, you got our leader, but you can't touch us. So back off, right now, or this is going to get so much worse.
And that right there, that gets to the absolute core of the problem. You have to understand, these cartels, especially CJNG, they're not just gangs anymore. They're more like a parallel government. They have deep roots in local communities, they run their own economies, and you better believe they have a clear line of succession just waiting to take over.
So where does it go from here? Well, if you look at the possibilities, the most likely scenario, sadly, is a massive power vacuum. And that just means more fighting. You're going to see brutal internal wars as his lieutenants battle for the top spot. The huge CJNG empire might even shatter into smaller, warring gangs. The one thing that's least likely to happen? Business as usual. Taking out El Mencho doesn't stop the drug trade. It just kicks off a brand new, even bloodier chapter of violence.
And all of this leads us to the final, and frankly, deeply unsettling reality of Mexico's decades-long drug war.
Look, taking out one leader, it doesn't matter how powerful he is, it doesn't end the war. It never does. It just kicks off a violent, bloody scramble for the throne. So this chapter might be over, but the story is tragically far from finished. The king is dead. The only question left is, who's going to win the war to replace him?